Oma was an exceptionally beautiful girl, her striking looks making heads turn wherever she went on campus. Her friends fondly nicknamed her Hottie Babe, a title that perfectly captured her charm, making her the envy of many and the center of attention in social circle. Oma was a spender by nature. Even as a final year student, she lived the life of luxury and comfort, always having enough money to buy the latest fashion trend, treat herself to expensive meal, and frequent the most popular clubs in town. Her lifestyle was the envy of her peers, who often wonder how she managed to maintain such a high standard of living despite the demands of school. One secret most of her admirers didn't know was the sources of her lavish lifestyle. Behind the glamorous facade, Oma was involved with married men, sugar daddies, and wealthy benefactors who indulged her expensive taste. Oma had a strict rule. She refused to go out with single men. In her eyes, they were too demanding and often lacked the financial stability to cater to her needs. Married men, on the other hand, were different. They were generous, discreet, and less emotionally clingy, providing her with the luxury she desired without asking too many questions. She did not want to be committed to any man. Oma was indifferent to the consequences of her action, caring little about the homes and marriages she might be tearing apart for her own selfish gain. Her focus was singular and unwavering: money. To her, love and emotion were unnecessary distraction. Financial gain was all that mattered. Oma had made a vow to herself long ago she will never fall in love, nor will she have any interest in marriage. To her, love was a trap, a distraction that could derail her ambition. Oma's best friend Ada was the complete opposite of her. Ada was grounded, principled, and believed in living a life of integrity. She often warned Oma about the consequences of her actions, reminding her that every decision had a price. But Oma will simply laugh it off, brushing aside Ada's concern with a wave of her hands. After graduation, Oma saw no reason to search for a job. To her, working 9 to 5 seems unnecessary and beneath her. She was confident that her beauty and connection would sustain her lavish lifestyle, so she simply continued with her usual routine of dining out, shopping, and meeting with wealthy benefactors. One day, Oma crossed the path with Chief Aku, one of the most influential and wealthy politicians in the state, known for his extravagant lifestyle and deep pockets. Chief Agu was a man of power and prestige. When he showed interest in Oma, she felt like she had finally hit the jackpot. To her, this was the opportunity of a lifetime, a chance to elevate her status and secure her financial future. Chief Agu, however, was a man driven by jealousy and possessiveness. He promised Oma that he would give her anything her heart desired, but there was a condition: she had to date only him. This was a deal Oma eagerly accepted, knowing that with him, the luxury she craved for would be endless. His wealth and influence were a perfect match for her ambition, and she was more than willing to comply with his demand. As their relationship deepened, Chief Agu kept every promise he made to Oma. He lavished her with attention, taking her to high-profile meetings, flying her abroad for luxurious vacations, and pampering her in ways she had only dreamed of. Oma was living a life of comfort without having to lift a finger. Oma, however, didn't care what others thought. She was content with the arrangement with Chief Agu and was willing to do anything to keep him happy. Within 3 years of their relationship, Oma had undergone 10 abortions. Despite the physical and emotional toll, she remained unfazed. Oma was determined to maintain the lifestyle she had grown accustomed to. All that mattered was money and luxury that came being his. Oma continued to reject the advances of eligible young men, uninterested in any relationship that didn't offer the same stability and luxury that Chief Agu provided. While many young men admired her and tried to win her affection, Oma rejected all their advances. Ada, Oma's best friend, continued to advise Oma to move on, to have family of her own, since she had enough wealth from Chief Agu to live comfortably for the rest of her life. Yet, Oma wasn't interested in stopping. She needed more and more money, more luxury, more power. And before long, Oma became pregnant again. As usual, she opted for an abortion without a second thought. This time, however, things took a devastating turn. The procedure resulted into severe complications and she could not stop bleeding. Doctors fought to save her life, even resorting to removing her womb, but her condition continued to get worse. Oma found herself bedridden for weeks that turned into months. The vibrant, carefree woman who was once charmed by everyone was now weak and frail, confined to an hospital bed. People whispered that she might not survive. Chief Agu, who had initially supported her financially during the crisis, quickly moved on with his life. He found a new younger woman to occupy his time. He accused Oma for not being smart and careful despite all the money he gives to her. Oma was left alone to face the harsh reality of her choices, stuck in the hospital, fighting for her life. Those she relied on disappeared from her side except for her best friend Ada. Oma cried every single day. She begged God to forgive her and have mercy on her soul. The doctors, despite their efforts, could not pinpoint what was wrong with her. Every test and treatment seemed futile, leaving them baffled. Oma's condition continued to worsen. The pain became unbearable. Oma continued to beg God for mercy, her heart filled with genuine remorse. Day after day, she poured out her soul, asking God for forgiveness and promised to turn her life around if given a second chance. Slowly but surely, positive changes began to occur. Her strength started to recur. Those things that consumed her began to subside. Doctors were surprised to see her improving. Oma couldn't explain it, but deep down, she felt her prayers were answered. Oma eventually made full recovery and was discharged from the hospital. The moment she stepped out, she felt a wave of gratitude and relief washed over her. Wasting no time, she headed straight to the church, her heart heavy with emotions. As soon as she entered, she fell to her knees on the altar, tears streaming down her face. She wept, crying out to God with a heart filled with gratitude. She thanked him for sparing her life, giving her a second chance. She promised to serve God diligently. Oma kept her promise to God and committed herself fully to her newfound faith. She became serious about her work with God, immersing herself in prayers, worship, and service. Her transformation wasn't easy, but with the support of Ada, who stood by her side like a sister, the journey became easy. Using the money she had saved from her extravagant life, Oma opened a successful business. She poured her energy into making the business thrive, starting afresh, leaving her past behind. Oma's business thrived beyond her expectations. Oma worked tirelessly, proving to herself and others that she could build a successful life. Oma had no interest in having a family of her own. She knew her womb had been damaged beyond repair. Despite this, there were moments she wished for a family. Ada, who had since married and started her own family, had become a mother. Watching Ada's happiness made Oma yearn for that kind of love. But deep down, she knew it was impossible. One day, while working at a store, Oma met Dennis, a young and charming man. From the moment their eyes met, it was love at first sight for the both of them. Oma's heart raced, but along with the excitement came fear. She knew this was an impossible mission. She had long accepted that our relationship was not meant for her, especially not one like this. Still, Dennis was genuinely interested. He would call her at all times. Soon they became very close. Their closeness they shared was undeniable, and it was clear they were falling for each other. However, Oma, despite growing feeling, rejected Dennis' advances. He was torn between the love she felt for him and overwhelming fear that she would hurt him. Dennis was always surprised by her rejection, as if it was clear to him that Oma would love him too. But Oma carried the heavy body of her past, and she knew the reason she couldn't be with Dennis. Oma could not bear the thought of Dennis suffering because of her past decision. She loved him too much for that. One day, Dennis could no longer take it anymore. He confronted Oma, pouring his out, demanding to know why she keeps rejecting him. Overwhelmed by emotion, Oma finally opened up to him. She shared the painful truth of her life. The mistakes, the abortion, the damage to her body, and the heartbreaking reality that she can never have children. Dennis listened in shock. But instead of pulling her away, he stepped closer. He hugged Oma tightly. His voice steady but filled with love as she spoke. I love you, Oma, and I will do anything for you to be happy. Let's focus on our future. We can adopt kids in the future. We can build a life together. Mama could not believe her ears. The weight of her past, the fear that had held her back, seems to melt away at that moment. She wrapped her hands around Dennis, tears of gratitude streaming down her face. For the first time in a long time, she felt hope. Oma and Dennis' bond grew stronger each passing day. They were deeply in love. Together they shared laughter, dreams, and moments of gratitude, constantly thanking God for His mercy. Dennis and Oma were inseparable. One day, moment filled with tenderness and excitement, Dennis proposed to Oma. Overwhelmed with happiness and love, she joyfully accepted his proposal. She rushed to share the news with Ada, who embraced her tightly, tears of joy streaming down her face. Ada had been at Oma's side through darkest moments and now celebrated her as she stepped into a new chapter filled with love and hope. Oma was finally at peace, her heart full of love and her life filled with purpose, ready to start and forever with Dennis. Plans for the wedding started, and excitement filled the air. Dennis visited Oma's family, who happily welcomed him with open arms. They were excited that Oma had found such a fine, wealthy, and kind-hearted man. Oma is truly best, they whispered among themselves. A smile and prayer for the couple, happiness filled the room. On the other hand, Oma prepared to visit Dennis' parents. She was nervous but excited. Dennis' mother welcomed her, ushering her into the sitting room where she and Dennis sat waiting for his father to join them. But the moment the father entered the room, Oma froze, her heart pounding wildly. Standing before her was Chief Agu, the man who had once been her sugar daddy, her past wrapped in regret and pain. It has been several long years since she had seen him, but the memories came flooding back as it was yesterday. She wished the ground would open and swallow her. Chief Agu's face was unreadable as he walked in and sat down nonchalantly. His eyes briefly met Oma's, and she saw the flicker of recognition. Turning to Dennis, he said in a calm voice, "Is this the woman you want to marry?" Oma was struggling to breathe. Her worst fear had come to life. Her past had come crashing into her present, threatening to destroy the happiness she had worked hard to build. "Yes, Dad," Dennis replied confidently, his love for Oma unwavering. Chief Agba's expression hardened, and his voice carried an edge as he spoke. "You want to marry a woman that had no womb?" Dennis was stunned. How could his father know these personal details? But then again, his father was an influential man who had connection everywhere and always seems to know more things than anyone else. Oma, on the other hand, felt like the world was craving all around her. "I love her, Dad," Dennis said firmly, his voice steady despite the tension in the room, "and I'm ready to spend the rest of my life with her." Chief Agu's composure broke as he shot to his feet. "Over my dead body," pointing an accusatory finger at Oma. "This public toilet." His words were clear. "She cannot come into this family." Tears welled up in Oma's eyes. Dennis' mother was taken aback with sudden outburst. "Who doesn't have a womb?" she asked, her voice surprised and shocked, laced with confusion and concern. Her gaze shifted between her husband Dennis and Oma, searching for clarity. Oma, overwhelmed by all this regret, couldn't take it any longer. She stood up, her heart racing, tears streaming down her face. Without a word, she ran out of the house, leaving Dennis and his parents stunned. Dennis immediately followed her out, his heart heavy with worry. "Oma, wait," he called after her, but she didn't stop. She felt suffocated by the weight of the situation. She couldn't face Dennis, not like this. When he finally caught up with her outside, she pleaded through her fears, "Please, Dennis, just leave me alone. I need time to think." Reluctantly, Dennis stopped, respecting her wish, but feeling helpless as he watched the woman he loved walk away. Oma got home and broke down completely. She cried, regret flooding her heart. She replayed the events of the day in her mind, each moment cutting her deeper. Her past, the one she thought had left behind, had returned to haunt her at the very moment she had finally found happiness. The next day, Oma called Dennis to her house. She knew it was time to face the truth, no matter how painful. When Dennis arrived, she invited him in, her face pale, her heart heavy with guilt and fear. She sat down with a trembling hand. She began to speak. Dennis, she said softly, her voice breaking, I need to tell you everything. You deserve the truth, no matter how much it hurts. She went on to confess her past, her relationship with Chief Ago, and how she had once been involved with him years ago. She explained that she had no idea Dennis was his son when they first met, and how she wished she could undo the past that now threatened to destroy everything. Dennis sat in stunned silence, unable to process what he had just heard. His mind raced at the weight of her words. How could this be? How could a son and his father share the same woman? It was an abomination, a cruel twist of fate that made no sense. Even if David could somehow accept this, what about his mother? How could she look Oma in the eyes, knowing she had been once intimate with her husband? The situation felt impossible, like a nightmare he couldn't walk away from. Dennis buried his face in his hand, his heart breaking as he realized the painful truth. He had lost the one woman he genuinely loved. Oma sat across from him, tears streaming down her face as she whispered, Dennis, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. My past has caught up with me and I don't blame anyone but myself. I did this. I destroyed us. Dennis stood up, his shoulder heavy with sorrow. He looked at Oma one last time, his eyes filled with pain. I'm leaving, he said quietly before leaving her house. Oma sat alone, a sob filling the whole empty house. She could not believe this was happening. Just when she thought she had finally found redemption, finally met a man who looked past her mistake and accepted her as she was, she had lost him. The guilt and regret consumed her as she realized she had let go of a good man, a man who had loved her despite everything. It was said that many years later, Omar died lonely, without a husband or a child. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the story. Please like and subscribe to my channel.